Hello and welcome to another session or discussion in Asian Studies. This time I will give you a discussion or a background of various reports that will cover the discussion of how European countries and Western countries have colonized and even exploited various Asias in the Asian continent. So this particular topic will focus on the Western encounters in Asia. Okay, so I would like you to look at the first map here, guided by the arrows, the color of the arrows. Okay, and this is the second map with again the arrows, the color of the arrows. So based from the first map and on the second map, what had you noticed? Well, most probably at this point in time, you have so many things you have so many ideas, no, about the first two maps that I had presented to you, and more importantly, these maps that had been presented to you is an is a development, no, in the history of humankind, wherein uh, on the first map you had seen there that this is the trading route of various Asian countries from one another. This is the Spice Islands. Okay? Assuming that this is the Spice Islands located in the part of Indonesia, most of the Asian products in Indonesia, in Southeast Asia, in China, and even in India are all connected through what is known as the Silk Road. The yellow that has been present here in this map is the main Silk Road that comes from China, and all of those other colors in the map shows that these are also part of the route, no, going to various areas in Asia for trading of products from the West Asia, I mean from the South Asia, Southeast Asia, from South Asia to Central Asia, the Western Asia, until such time it has reached the area of Europe in the area of Byzantium and Constantinople. So this first map represents or show that the first wave of products that has been sent to Europe is through westwards. Meaning to say, from the area of China, if your reference point is China, or even the Spice Island, your products will pass through the Silk Road going to Europe in westward process. Or if you're in India, you're in central part, no, here in India, if your reference point is India, your product, if you want to market it to Europe, it should go into these roads, or if not these sea routes. Okay? If you want your products to go to other countries in Asia, in Far East, then you use the sea routes. Now, this particular map in Asia also shows that the activeness of various Asian empires and kingdoms all throughout from the early starts of the civilization down to the area of the 16th century. That means approximately about 1500s, or if not by the 15th century, 1400s. This is how people trade products, no, from one place to another using the routes being provided or being presented here. Now, because there is a sudden change of there are gradual changes in Europe happened around the 15th century and 16th century, and by that time, okay, Constantinople had been captured by the Ottoman Turks, meaning to say they have this, the people of Europe has a difficulty in accessing various Asian products. So the result here is that most of the Europeans thought that what if there are also other trading routes going to Asia on the other way around? So this particular map shows that if the first map had presented here all of the products from Asia is extending or going through the west, through the area of the so-called Constantinople here on the map, on this area, at this point, other European explorers at the height of the 16th century and as early as 15th centuries and 16th century, they had started to look for a route going to Asia on the other way around, to the westward perspectives. Because if they want to trade products from Europe, if your reference point in Europe is Europe, going to Asia, hence you will go to the east direction, to the eastwards. Now the products are going to the east, no, papunta sa silangan. So using this main Silk Road trading. But because Constantinople had been occupied by the Ottoman Turks, and the tariffs, okay, yung binabayaran ng mga Europeos sa mga Ottoman Turks at the height of those period in time, no, ay hindi na, kumbaga maaari pa namang siguro mayroong paggamitan, no? So they had thought na what if we try to go to trade, or if not to look for a route in Asia westwards than of the usual eastwards, since Europe is the focal point here. Most of the explorations happened going to the west, and this is how they had reached. This is how they had started to make connections, the people outside Europe, in the context of westwards, to the point that they had also discovered a new continent, okay, and also other countries or other modern day countries found in the new continent. And the world has never been the same. It has never been the same when they had did the so-called exploration or discovery. There are historical factors that leads to the age of exploration in Asia. First, we have the formation of the Crusades. Second is the story of Marco Polo. And the third is a trading route. That's just the thing that I am discussing with you earlier. Okay, during that time, in the medieval period, at the height of the medieval period in Europe, okay, there is this event called the Crusades, wherein the people of Europe had revolted, not revolted, but rather had made its military conquest in retrieving Jerusalem from the Muslims in that area. At the height of the medieval period in Europe, Crusades had also expanded the European idea on geography. That's why you had this, if you are referring to Europe, you have this area called the Near East, and the Middle East, and the Far East. So these particular crusades happened at the height of 1100s to 1400s in Europe, gave the Europeans a knowledge on geography, and also gave valuable information on some Asian countries near to the European continent. Okay? The second one is Marco Polo. Marco Polo is an Italian merchant who went to Asia and met at least various Asians, no? I mean, various traders, Asian traders that he had encountered. And he also had the opportunity to at least had the time to spend, no, with if I'm mistaken, that's Kublai Khan, or if not, yeah, if I'm not mistaken, that's Kublai Khan, no, one of the Mongol rulers of China, and even the Chinese leaders back then, no, and even the Indians, because he had used the area of the Silk Road trading. Okay, and the last is when Marco Polo went back to Europe, he made his story available to the people that the Europeans had imagined, or if not thought that maybe perhaps they can also go to Asia, encounter with these people, and trade products with them. And also, last one, the third one is trading, wherein new routes in search for spices and local products were uh, been a demand in Europe at that time. As I had explained to you earlier, from Europe to Asia, you will go to eastwards. But if you're going to look at it, okay, because of the policies implemented by the Ottoman Turks in the area of Constantinople, or which is the Byzantine, one of the centers of Byzantine Empire back then. Okay, Europeans had thought, now what if there are also other ways to go to Asia without passing the Silk Route, the main areas in the Silk Route trading. Okay, so these are the things that led to the age of exploration in Asia. Okay, now age of exploration is an exciting stage in world history, wherein many areas were being discovered, or if not, many people were first encountered by the Europeans, no, and even not just discovered, not discovered new routes, and encountered people, no, from these particular new areas. Now, there are things that we need to consider about these Western encounters and how they had assert their influence in Asia. First is the concept of colonialism, and the second one is the concept of imperialism. So, when we discuss colonialism, this refers now to one country's domination of another country or people through aggression or through military actions, and they are starting to acquire territories. So that's colonialism. Okay, so when one country, dominant country, occupied, or if not, expanded its influence through aggression to a subordinate country, or if not to a very small area or territory. That's what you call colonialism. Yung pagsakop ng pwersahan. Okay? Pagsakop ng pwersahan, o hindi naman kaya yung biglang pagtatayo ng mga istasyon, no, sa bago natuklasan na lugar at para manirahan doon. Ito sa mga manifestasyon ng kolonyalismo noong mga panahon na iyon. It usually implies formal political control involving territorial annexation and, of course, the loss of sovereignty of that area that has been occupied. Well, if you look at the context of the Philippines, when Magellan first encountered Lapu-Lapu, they did not had this aggression of acquiring the Philippine Islands, but rather they are exploring it. They are exploring, and if not encountering these people. When Legazpi first made its land in Cebu, that's the time they had used Cebu as a bastion of to start the colonial rule of Spain in the Philippines. Now that's what you call colonialism. Okay? So, yun yung dapat natin i-consider dito sa mga parts na ito. Kasi usually, ang natuturo natin sa bata, sinakop ni Magellan ang Pilipinas. Maaring hindi naman nasakop. Meron pa nga nagsasabi, na-discover ni Magellan ang Pilipinas. Hindi ito na-discover. Bagus, nakita at na nagkaroon ng pagkakataong makilala ni Magellan ang mga taong naninira sa Pilipinas. Dahil noong panahon na iyon, ang Pilipinas ay meron na ring mataas na antas ng kultura o pagpapahalaga sa kanyang kabiasnan at sa kanyang kultura nga, sasabi natin kanina. So, going back in the context of Asia, many Europeans first explored the areas before they had claimed that area and to establish colonies in that area. Hence, Cook defined colonialism as a process in which the Europeans in the height of the 16th century settled and exploited the territories outside of its continent. Take note of the term conquest, settled, and exploited. These are some very harsh terms to consider, but these are the things that their actions had been made at the time. Okay? Now, Western colonialism, Western countries that colonized Asia, we should look first how the Europeans arrived in Asia or bakit nga ba dumating itong mga Europeo na ito. Ano nga ba yung bit nila? Ano nga ba yung mga purposes nila? Ayan. So, first is the products. They want to look at the products from the Far East. If not the Far East, the spices in the Moluccas area, the Spice Islands. And the arrival of the Europeans in Asia has also started the so-called Age of Discovery, wherein they had first encountered these people in various parts of the world, not just in Asia, but parts of the world, no? So, in the Age of Discovery, they had considered it as a purpose of being religious, for trading purposes, and for political influence. Now, when we talk about the religious perspective during the Age of Discovery, take note at the height of 1500s in Europe, the Christian faith in Europe has been started to question because of its practices. No? So, during the time na nagkaroon ng Protestant movement sa Europe, nagkaroon ng mga digmaan sa Europe, holy religious wars sa Europe, and many of this, and the Counter-Reformation that had been implemented by the Catholic Church back then is you look for areas or places that can be Christianized. Okay? So, the political influence would like to tell us about the glorification. That means if you have discovered lands, if you had claimed those lands, that means your country is one of the most powerful countries in the Europe back then. Okay? And for religious, of course, Christian expansion, as I had told you earlier. And for trading purposes, of course, the principle of mercantilism. Okay? Europeans at the height of 15th century and 16th century and 17th century came to believe that this particular economic theory of mercantilism will try to help to emerge their country as the most powerful. Wherein the idea of mercantilism is that for every gold and every silver and every materials that had been acquired by a European power from the areas that they had been colonized or being acquired, it will be part of their national economy and they will become powerful. That is, yung mga ginto, yung buhos ng ginto, yung buhos ng mga produkto, yung buhos ng mga minerals na makikita nila sa mga occupied areas nila, colonial areas nila, it is a measurement of the national economy. No? So, pag mas marami daw ginto, sasabi back then, mas mayaman ka, mas mayamang bansa ka. Pero napalitan kasi ito ng konsepto ng kapitalismo, no? Nung mas lalo pang lumawig yung ideya ng colonialism and imperialism. Okay. So the European expansion in Asia, probably it's a recap of your world history class, if I'm mistaken, or maaring nyo may encounter ulit to. So the European encounters Asian people. These countries first made its exploration in various parts of Asia and various parts of the world. So Spain, you have there Magellan, Legazpi, in the Asian context, no? Portugal, we have ano tawag dito, sila Vasco da Gama, which the area of India. France had also had its influence on the latter part sa bahagi naman ng Southeast Asia, India, yan, England naman, most of the time, they had replaced the Portuguese in establishing commercial areas in India, and Netherlands in Southeast Asia. Okay? Now, if you will look at the map here, this is a 1700s, 18th century map with the colors that are being presented to you. These are look at the term of the map. In the context of the 18th century, it is known that these colors now are the so-called possessions. That means these are the areas that had been occupied by various European powers. Now, look at this one. So, British possessions, French possessions, Spanish, Dutch, and Portuguese. Okay, so if you will look at here, no, most of the Southeast Asia, in the part of Malaysia, Singapore, Brunei, Indonesia, are part of the Dutch East Indies Company. That means the European power from the Netherlands had been occupying this area, specifically the Spice Islands, and if not, other also areas that they had seen as potential for their economy as well. Now, the Philippines is a Spanish possession at the height of the 18th century here. Okay? And if you will look at Macau, Goa, what else? Pondicherry, and this area near in Bangladesh area, these are all parts of the Portuguese influence, together with the areas near in the Indian Ocean. And the British possession would use Bombay, this area, okay, Madras, and also this area in Indonesia, and the part of the Bengal area, and even here, Tonkin refers now to the areas of what is now known today as Hong Kong, areas of modern-day Hong Kong. Okay, so this is how Europeans had started to assert their colonial influence among the Asian territories or Asian countries. Okay, so I'm using the map that has been presenting also the voyage of James Cook, no, a British explorer who first discovered the area of Australia and even New Zealand. Yeah. Now, what are the effects of Western expansionism in Asia? Because of these encounters, okay, many Asians thought that they just came out of their perspective. They are there for product trading, but lo and behold, these European powers had also assert their political influence and established colonies forcefully in this area. Hence, there is an exploitation already of the areas na yung mga dating kinakagawian ng mga taong naninirahan doon ay dahan-dahan na nagbago. Dahil may mga patakarang kolonyal na itong mga bansang ito, mga European countries na ito. Hence, cultural assertion also had made its impact among the colonies. For example, sa atin na lang in the Philippine history, kung mapapansin natin, yung mga Kastila, nung nagbigay sila mga patakarang kolonyal sa atin, binago rin niya yung ibang mga perspektibo at pananaw at paraan ng pamumuhay natin na nakagawian na natin. Ganon din ang ginawa ng mga Briton at ng mga Portuges sa India, ay na kung saan ang ginawa nila kung ano ang mga patakaran na ini-impose ng kanilang mga bansa para sa mga produkto at para sa buhay ng mga tao. Yun lang dapat makita doon sa kolonya. So there is an exploitation and cultural assertion of these European powers in this territory. Hence, nagkaroon ng kumbaga nawala yung sovereignty ng mga Asyano at that time. Okay? That's effects of Western expansionism. Another one is that because of this Western expansionism, the world had started to become smaller in the context of the first wave or the second wave of globalization. Because marami ng mga area ang pwedeng puntahan at pwedeng matuklasan, makita, o kaya naman mapagkukuhaan ng mga produkto. Pero sa bandang huli, ang mga ito ay isa pa ring negatibong epekto o hindi magandang epekto ng age of discovery kasi nagkaroon ng exploitation, no? Pagkuha, pag-ubos ng mga likas na yaman, yun. Nung nagkaroon ng pagbabagong anyo ang Europe, no? At the height of the 17th century, that's the Age of Enlightenment. And the 18th century, Age of Enlightenment, and 17th to 18th to 19th century, yung mga ideas ng Age of Enlightenment, as well as other events unfolding in Europe, there is a demand of various products from the colonies. Kaya nagkaroon ng pagkakataon itong mga Europeans na palawigin pa yung mga patakarang kolonyal niya. Dito napapasok yung konsepto ng imperialismo. So, the first wave of imperialism, or if not colonialism, or happened at the height of the 16th and 17th century. When 18th century had entered, and 19th century had entered towards 20th century, there is another new wave of how can Europeans can become more more profitable in their colonies kasi ang hirap mag-maintain ng mga kolonya, no? Yun yung pinapanghawakan nila Hawak namin tong teritoryong to, most likely kami ang may bahala diyan para kontrolin yung mga resources diyan. Now, imperialism is an acquisition and administration of an empire, often part as a general commercial and industrial expansion. Meaning to say that when we talk about of imperialism, you're talking about here of not just exploitation, but how will you administer and how will you manage and govern these particular colonies that gives you so many raw materials for you to earn, no? For your country to progress, to prosper. So, general commercial and industrial expansion. That means at the height of the 19th century, 18th and 19th and 20th century, imperialism had started as a way to acquire raw materials from colonies, no? Kung nung una ang konsepto natin ay settled, acquisition, and later on possession, later on nung nagkaroon ng bagong pananaw ang mga Europeo sa iba't ibang mga bagay, no? pananaw sa ekonomiya, politika, during the height of enlightenment, nakita nila, maaring mapalitan pala, maaring siguro magkaroon pa tayong kumita tayo mula sa mga kolonyang ito, no? Na mas doble pa doon sa una nating ginagawa sa kanila. Doon pumasok yung ideya ng imperialismo na kung saan yung mga raw materials, no, ang naging priority na yung mga raw materials ay kinukuha na at binabalik din sa kolonya. No, mamaya papaliwanag ko yun. Okay. These are the forms of imperialism. First is colony, direct control. That means the original occupants of that area were being deprived to make their own decision, wherein there is a strong imposition of various colonial policies or laws that the people from that area needs to follow these particular colonial laws. Okay? Kasi mamaya, when your classmates rather discuss or when you encounter reading about Asia and imperialism, you will notice that there are so many ways that these Europeans had used, or if not exploited, or if not established commercial trading purposes dito sa Asia, no? One of which is colony. Yung pinakaunang ginawa nila is colony. The other one that they had created is the concept of protectorate. That means you absorb a territory, but the basic decisions among the occupants of that region, of that territory, is still the same. So, protectorate is when a particular colonial master allows a particular colony to at least live on their own, but these particular services that the colonial master can give to these colonies is expected. Kumbaga, we will protect you because you are part of our territory. Okay? You will still practice your basic decision making, but everything should be consulted to the colonial master. So, when you make your basic decisions, at the end of the day, you will seek and consult it with the colonial master to give you at least provision or approval. Okay? So, you provide larger services and protection to these particular areas. Maybe an example of protectorate is Indochina. That means the part of Southeast Asia that covers Vietnam, Laos, and even the British India. Spheres of influence is defined as an area or a region in which a foreign country has an exclusive control of livelihood and trading. Okay, so hindi niya hawak yung buong bansa. Maaring may isang lugar lang na maaring doon lang sila magse-settle, or meron siyang direct control, exclusive control doon sa lugar na yon. Maybe an example of a sphere of influence is when China was being divided into various areas of trading ports among the European nations, no? When you had encountered China in the age of imperialism. Ganun yung nangyari sa kanila eh. Hinati-hati yung iba't ibang mga ports, daungan sa China para at least sila ay magkaroon ng at least ng mga European powers ay magkaroon ng pagkakataong ma-occupy yung mga area na yung controlling the livelihood of that area. May mga I hope may mga magdi-discuss nito mga to, no? Or if not, you can encounter this one on your readings. Now, more likely at the height of the 19th century and even in the early 20th century, Industrial Revolution happened in Europe. So, mas marami ang kinailangang produkto kasi nakapagpatayo ng mga factory, okay, ng mga factory manufacturing areas or companies ang mga European countries para matugunan yung pangangailangan ng mga tao sa kanila. There is a increase of demand in various products that there is a need to fasten up, bilisan yung pagpuproduce ng mga ng mga pangangailangan ng tao na yon. So, kasi nung una, ang nangyari is manual labor. So, pag nagtanim ka, ikaw, no, o kaya naman, meron kang devices para mabilis yung pagtatanim mo. Ngayon, gumagamit ka na ng iba't ibang mga paraan para mas sobrang bumilis pa yung production ng mga goods and services na yan. That literally increases the volume of production of this particular basic commodities or necessities. So, nagkaroon na ng mga machines, no? Yun yung siguro maaring nag-trigger din kung bakit mas lumakas yung konsepto ng imperialismo, hindi lang siguro sa Asia, pero pati sa bahagi ng Nuevo Mundo, the New World, and even in Africa. Yan. So, there is a growing competition of various products in Europe. Hence, there are appetites of raw materials which are unavailable in Europe that needs to be manufactured there. So, saan ba nila makukuha itong mga raw materials na to? Sa mga colonial areas nila, sa mga hawak nilang lugar. So, when they go back to their colonial masters, sa mga products na to, may kakompetensya na siya na katulad din ng iba, no? Yan. Cheap labors in the colonies for raw markets make it profitable for the colonial masters. So, lahat ng mga nakikinabang dito ay yung mismo mga colonial masters. Halimbawa, magtanggal ka, mag-extract ka ng mga diamante, ng mga ginto, ng mga bakal, tanso, ng mga raw materials from colonial countries, no? Meron na mga cheap labors na gumagawa nun. Ibig sabihin yung mga slaves or if not yung mga ordinary people ng territory na yun, sila yung gumagawa nun, kikita sila, pero mas ang kikita na malaki, ito mga colonial masters. Okay? And the abandonment of free trade and the emergence of capitalism had gave way, no, to why imperialism had become a trend, no, in the 19th and 20th century. So, who are the imperialist countries? We have Portugal, Spain, Great Britain, Netherlands, France, and it was followed by the United States at the end of the 19th century, Germany when they were being unified, and even Italy. Well, most of these particular countries are focused on Europe, rather in Africa. Majority of them have been concentrated in Africa and even in Asia. Okay, and also has this influence in the Latin America or the New World, the North and South America. Well, all of them, okay, practically speaking, no, all of them had made its imperialist ideas or expansionism in the areas na meron silang hawak o control. Ito kasi nangyari, when you export a raw material from the colony, patadala yan sa mother country or sa colonial master niya, tapos ibebenta pabalik sa kolonya. So, ang nangyayari doon is parang niluluto ka sa sarili mong mantika na, halimbawa, exported raw material from the colony, tsaa, in India. Okay? In India has been very famous for tea products, but this particular tea products, okay, these tea products or yung pinaka raw material na paggawa ng tsaa, dinadala yan sa Europe, sa Great Britain, minamanufacture doon para maging isang finished product. Tapos ang gagawin ng Great Britain, ibebenta niya yun, yung finished product na yun, pabalik sa India, sa areas na United States, and other areas na meron siya. So, mas kumikita ang Great Britain kaysa sa mga cheap labors ng India. Okay? At saka sa mga, yung kinikita niya rin sa US and other territories, no? Ayun. Sa North America pala, rather. So, yun yung nangyari. The height of imperialism. Ganito ang ginagawa, o para naging cycle na ito ng mga Europeans, no? Ng mga Europeans sa kanilang mga colonial uh, territories. Now, this is an example of some of the political cartoons, no? At the height of imperialism on the 19th and 20th century. So, there will be session. I hope you will read and if not visited your classmates' discussion about how China has been divided into spheres of influence. Okay, how the U.S. assert its colonial rule in the Philippines. Okay, and how England had become one of the largest imperialist country in the 19th and in the 20th century, and how they had also occupied Malaysia, as being presented here in this sketch or drawing, and other parts, no, other colonial masters, no, occupying other parts of Asia, Burma, that's Myanmar, Turkey, Afghanistan, in the parts of Africa and Central Asia. Okay? And even in our own continent, Japan also had become an imperialist, had become a colonial master in its own assertion. No? So, the Russians, this is the Koreans, no? How they had fought Koreans, if not other parts of China, that is, and even parts of China. Okay, so at the height of the 20th century, no, eto na yung nangyari sa iba't ibang bahagi ng mundo, no, specifically in Asia. So this is our reference. These are rather the colors. Okay. So, yung mga lines, maliit na lines, trading lines yung mga yan. Sea trade routes and land routes. So, these are, please take note of the colors here. And let's go to Asia. If you will see here in Southeast Asia, no, ang area na to, US na siya, before Spain siya. Then, still part of the Netherlands. Then, Indochina, protectorates of Indochina. And maybe you will encounter one in your readings, why is that Vietnam or Siam has not yet is the only country in Southeast Asia na hindi na-occupy, no? Na hindi na-occupy ng mga European powers. Now, this is the British spheres of influence in China. Yan. So, the area of Hong Kong here. Yan, the other areas of China has been opened. And India, large part here of India, and even the part of Afghanistan and areas near in Iran, Iraq are part of the British protectorate. Okay, still parts of Portugal, Portuguese, rather French and Portuguese and the French influence. Yeah. So, if you will look at this map carefully, mapapansin mo na yung tatlong century, 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th, 20th century, sabihin natin mga halos 4 na century yun, na 400 years, no, na nakita natin na, or almost 500 years, or yeah, sabihin natin, mga ganong panahon, no, 400 years na yung mga areas dati ng mga lalaking sibilisasyon, okay, dahan-dahan silang naging parte ng mga European powers. So the world changed, no, after the age of exploration. Okay, so just to think of it, ito yung mga ibang parts na kumaga at the height of the World War I to, no? 1914 to 1916, ito na ang nangyayari sa Asia, no? So, Japan is starting to become an imperialist power, no? And that is for another discussion. Okay? So, that's it no, about an introduction or background about the Western encounters in Asia. And I hope you had learned something from it, and you will read something about how the Chinese had encountered the Europeans or even the people of Southeast Asia and India. Okay, that's your task. And even the Japanese, how did they become a colonial master on their own. Okay, so that's it. The background of Western encounters in Asia. Attached also in this particular video presentation is a reader or an article that you need to read about the Western how Asia had become a battleground of not a battleground but rather a commercial ground, no, for all those Europeans. Okay, so I think I can give you an article about that. That's part of your activities sa akin. Okay, so thank you so much for listening, and stay tuned, or if not, see you on the next discussions.